Hi, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. If you are new to my channel, subscribe down there and hit that bell. Get notifications when I'm live or post videos, as well as like my videos and share them. So today I have a fun, exciting video for you guys. So let's just get to it. I can't wait for you guys to make it too. See you in a little bit. So what you will need for today's quilt project, we are just making a quilt top. You will need two 40-piece jelly rolls, which are 2.5-inch strips. So if you have 80 2.5-inch strips, you can do it with that. But we have two jelly rolls here. Mine are of mixture color. So two 40-piece jelly rolls, and then we need 20 2.5-inch accent color strips, or 2 yards of fabric. The reason why I say 2 yards only, even though we only need a yard and almost 3/4, is because the leftover strips that I will be using will be for the border to close off what we are making. So I added in enough to do that. So for now, I'm just going to use the 20 2.5-inch strips and 40 jelly roll strips, or 2 jelly rolls. Well, let's get started. So we're going to start, if I could find myself a pair of scissors, by opening our jelly roll strips. Mine just so happen to have, oh, I guess I can just take that off. Mine have rubber bands around them, so I'm just going to carefully remove the rubber bands from both. Toss aside because they are not needed. I'm going to open these up, and once you open them, you're never going to get them back. So open them up. Oh. Guess I didn't open them correctly. Okay. So mine are exactly the same, both rolls. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pull out all of the same colors. So there's all these same colors. I'm going to go ahead and pull them all out. And I should have quite a few of each, at least 4 of each from each roll. And I'm going to try to just toss them aside, making stacks because both stacks are the same thing. So I'm just kind of stacking them all around my table. As you can tell, making a big mess here. Just putting them all into their respective color groups. Alright, almost done here. It's a lot of the same print over and over, but this project, it won't really matter. Oops, that goes in that pile. I think it'll look good either way, but I do with what I got. And this is that pile. Okay, so now I'm just going to stack all these color groups, now that I have 8 in each pile, out of the way, and I'm only going to work with 1 stack at a time. Now, if you need to press your strips, go ahead and do that first, but I am not going to. What I'm going to do is match up the selvage. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to slide those out of the way. I'm going to match up the selvage, and I'm going to stack 4 like so, like this, stacking 4, and then stack the other 4, but I want them to be equal. In the jelly roll, they are tapered, and I don't want to cut them in a tapered manner. So I'm just going to stack them all up nicely, like this, making sure everything stays nice and lined up. Use your fingers to adjust. If you need to press, go ahead and press, but I'm not going to for this. I'm going to slide them over onto a line on my cutting mat. Selvage beyond. I hope that you can see that in the frame. Probably not, though. We're just going to slide this over here so that you can see. All right. So they're all, the selvages are now all beyond a line. Like so. And I am going to start by trimming off all of them at one time. So I'm going to line my ruler up. And if you're not comfortable with cutting that many layers at once, then don't. Okay, now that you have them lined up on a line, you've trimmed off the selvage, take your long ruler, and you are going to come over 18 inches. And you better hope that you have 18 inches on your strips. So I'm going to come to the 18-inch line on my long ruler, like this, coming over 18 inches. I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to set these aside because I can use those in another project. Once you have done that, you should have 2 of each cut at 18 inches long. So I'm going to set those aside. And now I'm just going to keep on going with every set. So again, I will just line these up, selvage to selvage on a line like this, and put the selvages on the line. Everything's on the line. I'm stacking mine up in 4s. You don't have to if you're not comfortable with it. I am. Looks like not all jelly rolls are made the same, so I just want to make sure I point that out. Some are longer than others. Some have pinked edges and some do not. So again, I'm going to start by cutting off the selvage on all of them, just like so. Trade over to the long ruler and come over to the 18-inch line. Line it up on there. The 18-inch line. And cut. And again, I'm just going to keep all these. So let me get all these cut up and I will be right back. Now that all 40 jelly roll strips from both sets, that's 80 jelly roll strips, have now been cut into 18-inch long segments. Now we're going to set those aside, and we are going to take our 20 jelly roll strips and or background yardage or background color, and I'm just going to take a couple pieces for now, and I'm going to stack them up so that I can cut the selvages off first. So I'm just going to do a couple pieces at a time. just so that I could show you. We are going to take selvage to selvage, take the selvage off. I'm just stacking them in sets and threes to make it easier because I'm switching now to a smaller ruler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my smaller ruler, I'm going to lay my thing here, and now I'm going to cut the selvage off like so. Don't need it. And I'm going to use a 4.5 inch ruler for this. If you do not have a 4.5 inch ruler, any ruler will work as long as it has a 4.5 inch mark, which would be right there, like that. Okay. So I'm just going to use this to make the process go faster for me. It is a 4.5 inch square ruler, and I'm just going to lay it on here, and I'm going to make a cut. So I have a 4.5 inch cut like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and just keep laying it on. You should get 8 4.5 inch by 2.5 inch pieces from each strip. I'm not going to worry about the end, so all this left over on the end, you probably could get another 4.5 inch strip from it, but we don't need that for this project. So I'm just going to throw that aside, and I'm going to stack this up over here. I'm going to do it all over again. So again, I'm going to line this up, cut the selvage off, keep that ruler right where it was. Oops. Go cut 4.5 inches. So I'm just subcutting all of my pieces before I even do any sewing because it makes this process go a lot faster if it is already pre-cut into the strips that we need or cuts that we need. So again, I don't need this end piece. I'm just going to toss it over in my extras pile, and so far I have that many. So give me a second and I will be back after I chop all these up. So now that I have my 4.5 inch backgrounds cut and my 18 inch by 2.5 inch stack, I should have 160 of these little 4.5 inch by 2.5 inch rectangles, and you should have 160 of the bigger ones, which are 18 inches by 2.5 inches. So as soon as you have all those cut up, it's time to get to the sewing. It's also nice if you have a table next to you to stick all of your pieces. For now, I'm going to take all my 4.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles and I'm going to stick them on one side, and then I'm going to take my 18 inch strips and stick them on the other side, and I'm going to show you how this works. If I have to pause and move the camera, I will. I would just like to be able to show you guys the positions as if you are sewing with me. Okay. So we're going to take one of the 4.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles, and I'm going to grab one of my longer pieces, the 18 inch piece, and I'm going to start by sticking this like an L. Let's see, can you see that? So I'm going to take the 18 inch piece and I'm going to stick it like an L along the top. I'm going to match up the top and I'm going to match up my side. And what we're going to do, let's get that top matched up. Now you can use a ruler and mark a line if you want. I don't have a way to do that. I'm just going to do this my own way. I'm going to turn the piece to the side like that. I'm going to stick my needle up here in this top corner, right where that piece comes in. And I'm also going to take the bottom and line it up. Let's see if I can't show you guys. See all these little markings I have on my machine? You can take a piece of paper tape, which I don't have any of, so I kind of can't show you that. But if you want to mark all of your pieces, you can. So mark from one corner down to this bottom corner right here. I'm just going to make sure everything's lined up. This is not that hard, and I'm going to follow the line on my machine, which goes from the needle down. Okay, goes from the needle straight down. And I am going to find my presser foot, or my foot pedal, I mean, and I'm going to stitch from one corner to the next. So I'm just going to go really slow so that you can see. One corner to the next. And just so that you can see before I start chain piecing, we're going to open this up, press towards the dark with my finger like this, and it should line up on the top right here, and it should line up nice and straight, so you should have a nice straight piece. So I'm going to press it real quick. I'll press them all when I get finished chain piecing, but I'll press this one real quick and come back and show you. Okay, so now it's pressed and I have that extra piece on the back still. I'm just going to leave it there because I'm actually going to chain piece all of this section first. So to every single 18-inch piece, you are going to connect one of these, just like this. Now my jelly roll pieces are pinked edges and my cuts are the 4.5, so the top lines up but the bottom sticks out. That is okay because that will get hidden in the seam allowance. I am not worried about that. You can be if you want, but unfortunately we can't control how big the jelly roll turns out. So if you want to adjust your piece by, say, not even 1/8 of an inch, by like 2 millimeters higher, you know, when you put it on, if it's bigger, if your jelly roll strip is wider, if you want to adjust it when you lay it, laying this piece when it's like this above just a tad, when you open it up it should balance back up towards the top. So that's up to you if you want to do that. Some of my pieces will end up that way anyway, but this is what we are looking for. So I'm going to put this in fast forward, and we are going to chain piece these pieces after I show you one more piece. So I'm just going to throw this over aside for now, like that, out of the way, and I'm going to grab another square, and what I'll show you about this millimeter up thing. So I'm going to lay it right sides together like this, and see, now I placed it just a little bit above. See, if I flip it over, it's not like totally above, it's just ever so slightly. Let's see if I can focus. See that? It's ever so slightly above. So if you just place it ever so slightly above, now if I keep it to the side like it's supposed to, it's these pinked edges. It kind of messes with some of the things that we do. So I'm going to put my needle down right in the junction that I have now created. Take a couple stitches, hold this bottom piece down to where my underside, see that? This under piece is on the line, and I'm going to watch it as I sew all the way down from one corner to the next. So if I open this up, let's just break this so I can show you. Now that I sewed it up a little bit higher, like this, now I'm going to see that piece on the top because I made it taller, but now look at that, the bottom lines up. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you want to do it that way, you can, but I would just say sew them all on, because either way that back side's going to get trimmed off. It's going to get trimmed off in the end. So for now I'm just going to chain piece all these through, every single piece, over and over and over again, and I'll see you in a few. It's going to take a while, but I'll put it on fast forward. On to the next step, and I actually have too much noise in the background. So the next step is to make piles of all your same matching strips. I'm doing this on purpose, so please follow along or this probably won't turn out correctly. So separate all the colors, and I'm going to start with one of the piles at a time. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to open this up like this, and I am going to trim away a 1/4 inch. Can we even see down here? Let's push all my piles over, I guess, because this is the part that's going to be tedious and take forever. Where are we at? Okay. I need to make sure that we're in the frame here, guys. So the part that's tedious and will take forever is cutting away your 1/4 inch seam. And since it's already pressed to the dark, it should lay nice and flat. So I'm going to go ahead and just one piece at a time, pull this down towards me like this, cut away 1/4 inch. The reason why I'm not doing with scissors and I'm accurately cutting is because I'm saving those little pieces, which I tend to do quite often, to make stuff out of. So if you don't do that, don't worry about saving them. You can go ahead and just toss what you don't use. But I'm actually going to be using them. So again, I'm just opening the piece up, cutting a 1/4 inch away, placing it back down, opening it up, pulling that corner out, cut 1/4 inch away. Again, this is the tedious, most time-consuming part, is cutting all this away from all 160 pieces. But it does have to be done. If you don't want to do it, you will have bulk in your quilt, and you don't really want that. So again, I just trim it all away and just do one piece at a time. I mean, unless you have another method of doing it, this is the thing for me that takes the longest, is this one piece at a time thing. Normally, if I'm just doing a ton of pieces that I'm not trying to keep in order, I would just swipe the piece after I cut it, you know, to the side and work on the next. But because I'm trying to keep everything in order, I'm actually, you know, paying attention to what I'm doing. Again, just one piece at a time, and I'm going to do this with the whole lot of all 160 pieces. It's a whole lot of pieces, guys. But trust me, this is going to be an awesome quilt top. And if it wasn't, I wouldn't have made the video. So I'm having fun with it. I mean, I'm actually staying up late. It's already 1 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. Well, technically now it's Thursday morning. It's 1 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday night, as if you want to call it that. But technically it's now Thursday morning. I would have done an Insomniac series episode, but this needs to be done, so, and I wanted this to be a video for all of you. So that's why I'm not on doing a video. Alright, so here this is, and the rest of it I will put in fast forward.
Okay, so now when you have all of your pieces sewn together right here and trimmed, all your backs are trimmed off, put them in an order that you want them in. So I put them in my desired order. We are going to now sew the desired orders together. So let's get to that. So at first you take the piece that you want, which in my case is my end piece, and you take a new piece, which is my first piece. So we're going to take this and we are going to put your first piece right side up, and you're going to take your end piece and place that on there right side down so that you're creating an L. So one piece comes down towards you, one piece is on the table next to you as an L. So create that L, and I'll change the camera angle as soon as I sew this one on. So what I'm going to do, line it up, I'm going to find my tip, which is right here. I'm going to tip it, put it down, make sure that it didn't move, and put that tip down where the needle comes down. Take a couple stitches, line my bottom up, and come straight down. Now, when you open it, you will have a pretty long flying geese unit. So you'll have a big triangle. And make sure that when you're doing so, that you have a good fold over right here, because you do not want to lose these points right here. So we're going to do that. So again, I'm going to come up to the side right here. I'm going to grab my next piece. And this I have not figured out how to chain piece yet. So I'm going to turn this one facing down like this. Put this one up, right sides together. Find my corner where I'm going to start my stitching. Turn it into the machine like this. Make sure everything stays lined up. And sew on down. Try not to flip these. I accidentally flipped this one, but we don't want to flip them. I want them to lay nice and flat. I'm just going to trim that right to the edge because I don't want any of this on the white fabric at all. So once you open it and press it back, again you'll have a big unit. So I'm going to bring it to the front now so that you can see what I'm doing here. So again, I'm going to move that over. I'm going to be making a long string. Okay, again, my long next piece is facing down, and don't worry that this piece will always face the same if this one is always facing the same. And take your other piece, put it right sides together onto it, like so. Get it lined up, bring it over, find that end where you need to put your needle down, and sew from one corner to the next. And if you can't do that, you can draw a line from one corner to the next. Like that. And then when you lift this up, pull it back, finger press it to the back for now because we'll iron later. You should have a perfect point with a 1/4 inch seam allowance right here. So now this one is the next one. That'll be the top piece. You have your next piece again. It's going to face down. Now if you want to mark them, you can. Just use a ruler. Line it up like so. Let's see if we can do this with the 45-degree angle. Line the 45-degree angle up like this, where it hits the corner, comes out the top, and mark a line. So here's your 45-degree angle right here. You line it up on the bottom of the piece and draw a line from there down to the corner, from the top down to the corner. You can do that if you want to. I'm not doing it, but you can do that with this whole entire project as long as you line that 45-degree angle up on your ruler. So I'm going to sew just a couple stitches and then come down like so. Break it, open it, and check. Again, did really good. I'm going to finger press it to the dark like this. Again, I have a 1/4 inch for my point. We want those points. That's how this, what I'm making, will come out, is with these points. And then grab the next piece. It's best if you have all your pieces somewhere next to you. So again, we're not sewing this side to that side. We are sewing the other side. So take that, place that on, and I'm going to sew this on, and I guess I'll show you how to do it with a pen, because I'm having a hard time looking over the camera to where I'm supposed to be, because the camera's in the way. So I'm coming in, one to the next, press it towards the dark color, which is my main focus fabric, and come down. So let me be back in 2 seconds. So if you want to mark your pieces, find your 45-degree line. Make sure your piece is upside down so you can see your seam. Make sure your diagonal line goes from here to here. So from the bottom to the top, from bottom left to top right. Take your ruler where you have your 45-degree line, right here. Line it up on the bottom of the piece. Keep enough room for your pen or your whatever you have to land right here in the corner. Line that 45-degree line up. And go figure, I chose a pen that doesn't even have any ink in it. I went and grabbed myself a pencil. It took a second. So I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to draw a line. Make sure my 45-degree line is on there. I'm going to draw a line. From one corner to the next. And then you can go ahead and do this to every single piece if you would like. I'm going to attempt to, because if I'm going to be filming, I need to see the line. So give me a second. Okay, now that I have marked my pieces, I'm going to put this next one right side up, facing down, put the other one on it. And this is just because with the camera I can't see, so I marked all my pieces, and I'm pretty sure you could probably do it too because it makes it a little easier. Mark the piece, lay it on there. You can pin them if you want. I don't pin. Let it down. Try not to make a mess of things. Line it up, sew it down on the line. Open it up. It should be correct. So again, come to the next piece, grab the next one, lay it up here, grab the next one. Notice my line isn't all the way down because I just need to know where to start, thanks to the camera being in the way. Line this bottom part up on my drawn line on my machine, and sew on down. And again, I haven't figured out how to chain piece all these just yet. Next one, right sides together, line it up. See, that one's line did not match. And just line it up and sew. it's correct, and it is. See, that color is the same. Don't want to lose any points. Grab the next piece, right side up. Put this one on, right side down. Open it up. Make sure it lines right up. It does. Finger pressing it to the dark. And one more piece, and then the rest I'll put in fast forward. So again, lining it up. Line my corner. That's not matching up really nicely, but put this needle down. Take a stitch, and then line the rest of it up. Open it up. Finger press to the dark, and there we have it. So now we should have one really, really long row, but I'm not going to stop. This was my last piece, so I'm going to start again with my beginning piece, and I have a pile just next to me, and I'm just going to do one piece right after the other, right after the other. I just wanted to come back real quick because you probably noticed when it was in fast forward, I figured out how to weight a chain piece. So put your piece down, grab your other end, which is still attached to the machine, line it up just like you would before breaking it every time, slide it under, and sew on down. So again, leave it on the machine, grab the next one. I didn't think this was going to work when I first was thinking about putting this together, so it looks like it's working. So let's grab the next one. Put it right side up like that. Grab the end of the last one. Right sides together. Line it up and sew on down your line. Grab the next one. I make a pile in order in front of me. Makes it so much easier to put this together. Making sure that all these seams are still facing the dark. Leave it on there. Grab the next one. Yeah, this is a lot easier. So chain piece them. Makes it go faster, just like the first time around. Just make sure that that seam faces down, because then it's going to flip. So this is what we want to do. So let me do a couple more pieces so you can see. So this next one is right side up. Take the end of this one, flip it on over on top, and I have my pile in front of me. So I'm just going to make a long, long, long train of pieces. The last one, so again, right side up, wrong, right sides together, so I just flipped it, so I took it, flipped the last of the piece over, put it in the corner, and sew on down my line. And then this is the leftover, you know what I mean? So I'm going to start from the next piece over again. So I'm going to put it back in fast forward now. So now I'm coming up on my last couple pieces. I just want to remind you that we're sticking the one piece facing right side up on the bottom first, and then sewing on the line that I drew, because I ended up having to draw the lines. But again, this one goes right side up, this one comes right side down on top of it, and I'm going to sew on my mostly drawn line. I didn't draw the line on all the pieces, I just kind of drew my starting point. So I'm just going across
Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the camera. It's kind of hard to film with this camera right in front of my sewing machine, but that's what you guys would like to see, and it makes it easier to see what I'm doing when putting this together. And then there's also a kid in here, and I will pause until she leaves the room. I guess that's not going to happen, so I will just finish this last piece now. This is the last and final piece. Again, I'm trying to go over the camera, but it's a little on the harder side. Okay, so I'm just sewing from top down to the bottom. And I ran out of thread right at that end piece, so I'm going to make sure I change that out. Okay, so now once they are all together, you will have this very, very I mean long string. And what we're going to do now is the same as last time. We are going to press this to the dark like this. So everything's going to get pressed to the dark over at the ironing board, and I'm just going to do this whole entire long strip just like you would if it was binding. So I'm just going to go over to the ironing board, and I'm going to press this whole entire thing. I do recommend in the process of pressing that you take your big huge pile and wrap it on something, because it tangles up, and I should have thought about that before I started, but I just wanted to make sure that I tell you guys to take this big huge pile, because see, it's how it's twisting, and or do it while you're sewing. This step is very important to just wrap it on the lid to something, or on a bolt that's empty of fabric or something. Just do that in your pressing process even before you trim these all off, to make this go a little bit easier, because now I'm stuck untangling everything. So I just want to add that to this video, to roll it up onto something like this and untangle it, and or roll it as you're sewing, because we're making a really long chain. So yeah, okay, there's that tip. Okay, so now that I showed you, be careful, because of the tangle, like this really got tangled. So I really want you guys to know this definitely needs to be rolled up so that it doesn't get tangled. But the next part is to unroll it and cut off your 1/4 inch pieces from the one side like this, all the way across on all the new pieces. But I suggest in between all these trimmings, which I'm going to be throwing, oh my, if I can get everything situated while I'm recording, which I'm going to be throwing all these little pieces into this pile right here. I do suggest well, actually, no, you need room. So, you know what? Just roll it up by hand, but don't let it get tangled, because you're going to need both ends on the next part of this quilt. So what I would just suggest is somehow finding a way to trim all these off, because they are not needed, yet at the same time still have both ends available when it comes time. So just cut all these off. I'm saving mine, and I always do. If you're not going to, just use scissors, I guess, and just sit and do it. But I'm doing this way. I know it's the harder way for me, but I'm trying to make things simpler, but because I save things for myself, is a little bit on the harder side. And all the tangling was not expected, so now I just got to figure out how to not tangle the rest. Because that's what makes this process a little bit harder, is the fact that it got tangled. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting all this off, and I guess I'll put a little bit of it into fast forward while recording this, but there's no need for you guys to see me make a disaster a second time while I'm untangling. But we want one big long strip in the end. You need that really long strip for the next part. So just go ahead and trim all this off, and I will see you guys soon. Okay, so we're on the next part, but I do want to make sure that I came back to you to say, roll it up. See, okay, so I have to explain real quick, just a quick snippet. When I design something, I haven't made it yet usually, unless I've made something that I've already designed and I'm making it again. So when I'm designing something, I kind of have flaws. So you guys got my flaw, it tangles. So make sure in your process of sewing your pieces together that you're rolling up your end as you go. Just roll it. Sew a little bit more, roll it to keep it from getting tangled. Because what I have made requires needing the long strip for string. It's a long string, honestly. So I just wanted to come and tell you guys that I don't have all the rules when I'm making it. So make sure that you roll it on something. All right, so let's get to the next part. Find an end. Here's one end. And now I do have to say, it's right here on the back of my chair, rolled over. And my other end is right here. Okay, so I have two ends. This end is on the floor, so it kind of goes from this side on the chair to this side being on the floor, kind of like half and half. That way it comes directly from the same side. And what we're going to do, and I'm trying to record this and be able to tell you guys this, so I'm going to tip the camera right now to the machine. Okay, we're going to take one side right here and the other side right here, and you're going to come to your first, can you see that? There we go. Come to your first points, okay? Take and put those two pieces right sides together at your first point junction for your flying geese. And what I would suggest is once you have at that point, you're going to have to flip one seam, and I would say toss a pin in it right here, just like this, so you can see what I'm doing. And then take the next one. It's coming from the chair, so it's making it a little harder for me. I do not have it rolled up now after I cut all the ends off. And now take the other point, right sides together, so you can see I'm making one seam go one way and one go the other. And then I'm going to throw a pin in this. Normally I do not use pins, guys, but if I'm not looking directly at the camera, it's because I'm trying to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm looking at what I'm doing, because I'm on front face right now. Okay, so once the pin is in, holding that junction, we shouldn't have to pin anymore unless you want to on the way down. So now I'm just going to use my fingers. I'm not going to stretch or pull anything. And this piece up here at the top should stick out above and beyond this piece by the point. Okay, just by that tip. So right there. So now we're going to turn the machine on again. And with a 1/4 inch seam, I'm going to back stitch right here at the top. With this 1/4 inch seam, and me scooting my pile over just a little so I'm not leaning up against it, I am now going to sew down like this. So I'm coming up to my first junction, and then I'll turn the camera in a second. Just give me a second. I went over my pin, which I shouldn't do, but I did. Coming to the next one. I'm going to make sure that seam stays the way I put it, and then pass it. And now, if you can see on me, this should align that next seam. So again, I'm just going to flip one down. You can pin these if you want, each junction right before you get to it. You would just be using the same 2 pins the whole entire time. So you can throw a pin in that one, pull a little bit more from behind me, and then throw a pin in this, like so that it stays. And then just sew a 1/4 inch all the way down to that junction. Come up to the pin. I don't recommend sewing over the pins, but sometimes it happens. So I'm going to pull more off the chair. Come down to this next one. Take it out, and your next junction should match. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around, and I'll record a little bit, and then I'll just fast forward from there so you guys can watch, because this is going to be a really, really long strip. So I'll be right back. Okay, so from the front, where you can see this next junction right here, going to come to it real quick. I'm going to flip one seam one way. See? Just that bottom section of the seam. And I'll toss a pin in it. I kind of can't do it with the camera in front of me though. It's kind of weird. And after this long seam, you really won't have to pin it, honestly. Just flip the one seam up like this and just hold it right before you get to it, kind of thing. You know? So I have a pin in it for now. So again, just going to line these up. So, 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to come to that pin. Like I said, you can pin it if you want. You shouldn't have to. They should line right up. Pull the pin out. I'm probably not going to pin anymore from here. I just wanted to show you. So I'm going to hold this one down the way I want it. Go on down with the 1/4 inch seam. And then just going to adjust the strip to where I can feel the next junction, and I'm just going to hold it with my fingers. And this now is just going to be a nice straight piece that hangs over here on the other side of the machine. You can see my hand right here, yay. So I'm just going to let it create a big folding mound over there, and hopefully the second half around it won't tangle, because it's still going to be a really long piece. So I'm hoping that it don't tangle. Okay, so I'm just using my finger, hold that, and I'm just coming to each junction, pulling a little bit more off the floor and off my chair, and I'll sew just a little bit more while I talk to you. You gotta make sure that you have a lot of bobbin thread because this project has used 2 bobbins already. So I'm just going to flip this one up. See how it's like that? I'm just going to flip it right here in the corner. Just like this. And come down. Yeah, when I design things, it's hard to say how it's going to come out or how things are going to work, because it's only on paper or in my head at first. So just like any designer, you have to get everything correct by putting it together. So I made sure that I told you guys, roll it up because it will get tangled, and it's highly annoying when it's tangled, unfortunately. But from here on out, these are all lining right up as they should. So I'm just feeling for the nested seam right here. Pulling a little bit more. If you see the fabric lifting, it's because I'm pulling more off of the floor and off of my chair. And hopefully nothing gets twisted on the way down. And if it does, I'll be able to tell you how to fix that. Because I have to figure out a way to do things for you guys to know when you're doing it too. So I'm just going on down now. Order and seam. So I'll come to this one more time so you can see I'm folding this one back. See, so there's that seam. It's already folded one way. This one I'm going to match up with it, except I'm going to flip it down so that I can feel it's nice and flat and it's lined right up. Come to it, leave the needle down at that seam while I fold this one upwards. So this one would be folded back, right? So this one would be folded up into it so that they nest. Alright, so I'm going to take this on into fast forward now, guys. So I'm coming up on the end. Coming up on the end now. I figured I would slow this down so I could show you. I'm still sewing with my 1/4 inch seam. Coming to the end of this really long. I don't even have a guess on how long this is, honestly. So I'm coming on the end, and I am going to have a tangle down here. So what I'm going to do, so now that I'm at the end, I want you to be able to see this. Can you see me holding it away? I'm going to sew just a little bit more. So I have like this. Alright, so that I have this in the frame so that I can show you. I am going to come right here to this flying geese unit. I'm going to grab my scissors because this is where it's supposed to end. So I'm going to come across here. I'm going to fold this in half on my scissors, and I'm literally just going to split that in half. And now both the ends are going to line up, and this last flying geese unit will line up just like this because it's in half now. And I'm going to back stitch right here. And there we have it. So here is my pile. What I'm going to do now, let's just take it right here because I'm going to end up running out of space on this video, is I'm just going to press it to one side. So I'm going to take it to the iron, and I'm going to press this whole entire whole lot to one side. And hopefully it shouldn't tangle now because it is doubled now. So I'm hoping that this doesn't happen. So let me take this over now and press it. I just want to make sure we know how we are pressing it open. Even though you just watched me do all that, making sure that the seam, you can tell when the seam is going one way. I'm taking the dry iron first, and I'm spreading with my fingers, pushing the seam open to one side, using my fingers to push and using the iron to go against it, and then I steam it. And then I come to the last of this. I use my fingers like so, making sure that it's folding back one way, and then I steam it. Once I know that that seam is pressed to one side really nicely. So I just wanted to come and make sure that I share that.
I just want to make sure we know how we are pressing it open. Even though you just watched me do all that, making sure that the seam, you can tell when the seam is going one way. I'm taking the dry iron first and I'm spreading with my fingers, pushing the seam open to one side, using my fingers to push and using the iron to go against it, and then I steam it. And then I come to the last of this. I use my fingers like so, making sure that it's folding back one way, and then I steam. Once I know that that seam is pressed to one side really nicely. So I just wanted to come and make sure that I share that. Okay, next step. One end is still on the ironing board. Okay. The next end I picked up off the floor. I found it and I tried to keep everything kind of nice. So let's hope that this stays nice. All right, so we're going to take this other end and we're going to come on top of here like this. And there's going to be some waste with this quilt, unfortunately. I'm going to take this piece right here. And I'm going to come down to where this mark is center with this mark. Like this. Oh my goodness. Let me put the camera down for a second because of my disaster. 2 seconds, guys. Okay. I'm going to put my first diamond center. I'm just going to eyeball this center in between these two pieces like this. Okay? So now that it is center, I'm going to put it right sides together like this. And just for video's sake, because I want it to stay right here, I'm going to look one more time like this. And I'm going to make sure where I'm touching, if I come over, oops, I'm on the quilt. If I come over, that this meets in the center, so I need to come up just a little. I'm going to put a pin right here, and I'm going to put a pin right here towards my beginning, like this, just so that these first two stay. And now that they are pinned, so it's down like this, again, I found the center of this to go in between the center between this one and that one. So when I roll it back, it should be in the center, like that. Okay? Just like that. And it kind of doesn't look centered, but it is. Maybe it needs to come down just a smidge. Just a smidge. So let's undo my little pins real quick. I'm going to come down just a smidge like that, right there. Put a pin in it. Come up here. Keep it nice and flat. Put the pin back in up here. Okay? So now that's in the center. So now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam down one side. I am going to pick up my pile and take it over to the floor right next to me. So give me a second and I'll show you what we're doing. So I have brought it over to me. The rest of it is on the floor next to me. Again, I found my center between here and the other one. Okay. And now I'm just going to come up here to this top right here, and I'm going to back stitch at the beginning. And now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam straight down this side, keeping the two nicely lined up. Nicely lined up. And I should be far enough away from my points right here to pass and not lose my points. So let me open this so that you can see. Let me come down just a smidge so that I can get both of those in so that you can see. Alright, so let me come up here and open it up. Your point should still be there. Okay, so I'm coming up on the end. I don't have it tangled this time, which is good. Because I picked it up, I picked the whole thing up off the floor while it was still in that folded position coming off of the iron board. So it should still be good all the way. So I'm going to come to this end right here. I'm going to give it a crease. Oops. And I'm going to take my scissors. And now it is 2 pieces, like so. Just like that. Back stitch at the end. And I'm going to take it over to the ironing board now, guys. And we are going to press this open like that to one side. So let's press this next section. Okay, you guessed it. Next part. Now that it's pressed, find the other end. I would suggest leaving it on a table at the beginning and finding the other end, making it correct. We're going to take this other end now. We are going to put it up above. This time, to make sure that things end up equal in the center and not fully, we're going to make sure that this again, so here's the center of here, come down about right here, because every row is going to be just a little bit different. So I'm going to come to the center like this, find the center between these two, and put these between it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come down this way. So now I'm going to put these right sides together, and there's going to be a little bit of a hangover, and I'm going to throw some pins in it. I'm totally not near my pins right now. Let's grab 2 pins. Sorry guys, you're looking at my messy room. I want it to stay right here, because that's where I like it. I'm going to throw 2 pins in it, right here. And just like doing, I can't even think of the name of it, but there is Jelly Roll Race. It's kind of like that, except with a little flair. So stick with me till the end. Let's get it right here. I'm just going to put this next part into fast forward. Again, I'm going to back stitch right here at the beginning. I centered this one between the next 2, so they're going to alternate, and it's a fast forward. So let me sew.
So that was my last fold up. So the end should be whatever. This was my last fold up that you just watched me press. So I centered this last piece. It's just a little bit above. This thing will get squared when I'm ready. I'm just going to put a pin to hold my starting point so I know where I'm starting. And at this point I can't record anymore because I have nowhere to put the camera because this is going to be too big. So I'll come back and show you how to trim it. Okay, that was the last thing. Now to trim it. So I'm going to start with the wonky side, and I'm going to fold it in half. I'm just going to use the seams and the side. The seams and the side, like this. I'm going to come over to this side of my cutting table. It's nice to have a bigger table when doing stuff like this. So I'm going to fold in half on that seam. I'm also going to pop all these out the way I want them. Everything's nice and even. And I'm trimming pretty good amount off, but I'm going to use all that excess for other things. So I'm just letting you know. I have the camera kind of set, look. My shortest line is right here. So I'm going to be trimming at my shortest line. But first I'm going to make sure everything is nice and flat, at least what's on the table, because there's no other way around it. So what's on the table is nice and flat. All these seams are together. This is the only side you'll be cutting a ton off. Any other side of this, you'll be fine. You don't need to cut a lot off. I'm going to start with a nice ruler. Like I said, everything's nice and flush now. Making sure all these seams are matched. Hanging over the edge of the table. Everything's good. Good. Now, to my shortest area, I am going to use the seams, all these back seams, as my guide on keeping this straight. So this seam, I want to run it nice and straight right here, as well as down here. Everything is nice and straight and flush. I'm coming to my shortest area. I know it seems like a lot to cut off. Come to the shortest area and cut down. I'm going to slightly pull it out of the way so I can see how high I am. Pull my ruler up to here, align with the bottom, as well as all the seams, and it's lined. It looks good. That looks good. And cut the rest of the way. So yeah, I did cut off quite a bit, but I can use this for other things. So I'm just going to set that aside. Set this aside for a second so that I can grab the quilt in half still, the quilt top, still in half, come to the other side, and we're going to do the same procedure. I'm going to fold it in half. See, this side we're just straightening up from cutting it. So everything's nice and flat, nice and flush. This side barely needs anything trimmed. So I'm just going to come down. Everything's nice and aligned. I'm going to start right here at the top. Align the seam all the way down and make sure I don't have to go far. All these seams are nice and straight. Cut. I'm going to pull this away so that I can see the bottom like this. Again, I'm going to line the top of the ruler as well as lining my seams up. And that looks good, just like that. So this side, like I said, you're barely cutting anything off of. So, looks good to me, All right, let me lay this out and I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so it came out. This is without borders, guys. There's no borders. My room is a mess, and I'm very sorry for that. I can't do it in full picture. So without borders, it is 66 by 80. It is called Floating Gems. This is my creation. I come across it. So I will be adding borders. I probably should have chose, and I could tell you this, if you're going to make this, choose really bright colors with your white. Lots and lots of bright colors, not a fabric that has these squares in it, because I didn't know the fabric was going to have those. When it's in a jelly roll, you can't really tell. So I would do this again in different colors and make it rain down. But it's called Floating Gems. I will add that leftover white that I said for the yardage. Just going to go around it with white, and then I'm going to add more to mine with as much of this as I can and with as much of these little pieces that were left over. So those will be it. So yeah, that's it. I thank you for watching. I'm in my pajamas. I am done for the night, and I hope you enjoyed my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Floating Gems. I will take some pictures for you guys, some still shots. But there it is, everyone. Floating Gems. Just needs a border. And that's it. Again, it's 66 by 80, as is. Bye.